Hey, everybody. Welcome to Knee Jerks and ETA Podcast. Thanks to my friend Scott Paris for the use of his song Knee Jerk for our theme song. I'm one of the jerks, Rob, and I'm here with co-jerk Joey Bones. This is our show on the Every.Thing.After podcast network, where we have knee-jerk reactions to movies, shows, music, games, really anything. In this episode, we're going to catch up and talk about some summer movies, some that we've seen, some that we want to, some that we don't. I say catch up, Joey, because summer's going by fast, dude.
It is. Yeah. Halfway through June. I can't believe it.
That's wild. It'll probably be into June by the time people hear this episode.
Right.
But I'll try to get it out sooner than that because, geez, we got to have a summer movie episode in the summer, and it's just fleeting. It's just fleeting. Yeah, I can't believe it. But, I looked at this list. We were trying to do some homework. I sent you a list of some of the most anticipated movies of summer, and it's from Rotten Tomatoes, a website that I frequent. And I was a little surprised. They start their list with a movie on May 1st, saying that May 1st is the start of the summer movie lineup or season. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm not real sure what my expertise would be in arguing with it, but it does seem kind of early.
Yeah.
I would, Labor Day to, Memorial Day to Labor Day kind of thing with the school, when school's out, I would assume,
For me, the summer movie season starts with a movie. It doesn't necessarily start on a specific date, but there's a movie every summer that sort of legitimately kicks off the summer movie season. Well, Rotten Tomatoes, their first movie on this list is a movie, Another Simple Favor, which doesn't really shout to me summer blockbuster. You could at least start with Thunderbolts. That came out that weekend.
Right.
Thunderbolts, I could maybe argue as a summer movie, even though it came out in early May. But
Yeah.
for me, I think the weekend that really kicked off summer movie season was the weekend of the 23rd, that third weekend in May. That's when we got Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. I think that's probably the summer movie kickoff of the year. And then also the live action Lilo and Stitch, which that's the family summer movie of the year, probably.
Right.
Have you seen either of those yet?
I did go to Lilo and Stitch. Went to go see that at the drive-in, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Lilo and Stitch was kind of out of my era of Disney movies.
When your kids were young enough, you were watching all the Disney movies. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I don't think the kids were watching at that point, or I don't know if I had them. They weren't into it. So it wasn't one that I'm super familiar with that I could pick apart and be like, oh, I hated that they changed this.
Yeah,
I thought they did a good job.
My kids did watch the animated one. I remember watching the animated with them, but I think that maybe they were a little further along in terms of their preference for animated movies. So I don't think we probably watched it like multiple times after it came out. I think we watched it a couple times. I think we had it on DVD at one point, so we probably watched it a few times. But there were movies when my kids were really little that we watched, I'd say like dozens of times, maybe 100 times, because they were just like that age where you found the movie, they found a movie they liked, and you had to have it.
You just kept watching it.
Like at the TV, you had to bring it with you, in the van. We had a DVD player in the van at the time. It was like we gotta watch this everywhere all the time.
Yep.
But you do remember watching the animated one, or?
I do, and more of my experience with Lilo and Stitch came with their series. They had an animated series, so I was kind of expecting a little more with the aliens that would dress up in disguise. And honestly, I felt like Zach Galifianakis was miscast there. His character wasn't all that funny. Yeah. It wasn't all that great.
I mean, like, he looks different too. And it's weird for him to play a role like that as straight as he did. Like you said, he doesn't bring a lot of antic to it, which is what you expect from Galifianakis.
I did a little fantasy casting after the movie, though.
Oh, yeah?
Because I thought John Goodman would have been amazing in that role.
John Goodman. Yeah.
Yeah. So
you know
that's who
what?
I
I
would have
think
picked.
maybe a younger John Goodman would have been. And I'm not sure Gemstone's John Goodman. I think if you were able to cast actors from any time period, or from any like stage of their career, I think earlier John Goodman, I think even like
Flintstones
Goodman would have been great. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. I don't know about Gemstone's Goodman. I don't know if I see it. One, he's like slimmed down so much.
He has, yeah.
Yeah. And aged. Everybody does. Except most of us go the other way and like slim down. And, he's all right for his age. He's an old dude, but he's getting around pretty good. If you do remember the animated one, how does it compare?
I think something's lost when you translate them to the live action, just because the originals are so endeared to us.
Yeah.
It would be like trying to remake episode 4. It would suck. Like it might be great for people who have never seen it, but like you don't do that. So I think something's lost there, but I do think it also opens it up to a whole new fan base, because there are a lot of people who are just, they want newer than the animated movies.
Yeah.
So give them. And honestly, if you look at the movie lineups anymore, there are a lot of sequels coming. A lot of sequels. Everything's getting sequels.
Lots of sequels coming out, that's for sure. But Lilo and Stitch, I watched it. I'll admit, at home on my home theater. My sister had come to visit. We had a family thing going on. I didn't have time to get out of the theater. I prefer to watch movies in the theater when I can. Yeah. I watched this one at home, and it was kind of a busy weekend. I nodded off probably in the middle of it and woke up for the end. But I'd seen enough. I don't know about saying. I get that like something's lost in the translation. I think that like the live action Lion King movies are not good. The animation's so much better. They've added songs that aren't on par with the originals, and the CGI animals. The big criticism of that was that they lost the ability to emote the way the cartoons did, and so everything came across really flat, just bland or one note. And I get that. I think that makes sense. But I think with Lilo and Stitch, I think what you gain is human actors. And I think that they actually cast, with the exception, I agree with you on Galifianakis, but I think that the little girl in this and her sister, I think that they were cast very well. I thought that they came across very human, very relatable, and sweet. I thought that they made it, and I think the animation style on Stitch is great. I think Stitch, the CGI animation on him is great. I think he looks like a stuffed animal, which they want to sell a lot of stuffed animals from this movie.
Oh yeah,
and they did that. They achieved that. They designed a character that will sell a lot of stuffed animals this year. Lilo and Stitch accomplishes what it set out to accomplish. I think it's pretty good. It's probably in the top tier, or at the top of the pyramid in terms of live action Disney remakes so far. I think it's one of the better ones. I saw the Mission Impossible movie, The Final Reckoning, and I gotta say, I'm not convinced it's The Final Reckoning. I know somebody on social, posted something about Tom Cruise confirms that there will never be another Mission Impossible movie, and I'm like, okay, let me see what he actually says. So I go to the article, read the article, right? Don't just judge it based on the headline in the comments. Go read it, confirm it for yourself. So I'm reading it. His quote is something like, well, the title means what it means, which is so like not.
Right.
A definitive statement. There's not going to be any more reckonings after this one. Is it the final reckoning, or is it the final Mission Impossible? I sincerely doubt it. They almost kind of like reboot the team at the end, so it would seem weird to to not make another one, because they introduced new team members, and it's like, okay, you're not going to make another one now? Are you kidding? It was like it was almost as bad as a Marvel end credit, like they're kind of standing there looking at each other like this team or whatever, and it's like, okay, you're not going to make a movie with this team? You expect me to believe that? I don't. I think they're probably going to make more. I don't think Tom Cruise closed the door on it in any way. I think they were trying to sell tickets, so they, They were stuck with a title too, because the previous one was The Dead Reckoning Part 1. And then they're like, we don't want to say Part 2 because people are pushing back against movies that are split into 2 parts. Nobody likes a Part 2 and a title and stuff. So they were originally going to just call it The Dead Reckoning Part 2, but they couldn't do that because nobody likes a Part 2. Wicked Part 2 is not going to be Wicked Part 2. It's going to be Wicked something else, Wicked for Good or something like that. So they're like, well, we have to tie the 2 together, so we probably have to use the word reckoning, but we don't want to use 2, so we'll use final. And that'll even we'll sell tickets because people are like, oh, it's the last one, We're not going to make any more. People will interpret that way, but I don't think that was even really I think, it was a marketing thing more than anything. I mean, the movie
that seems like a very Tom Cruise thing to do anyways. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, the movie does use a device that also would lead you to believe that this is kind of the homage to the whole enterprise, to the whole IP. Because throughout there's these flashback scenes, clips that, of past movies and everything, which is kind of weird. It's something like a best of kind of thing.
Right.
And in some cases it makes sense because there's a character in this, and he was like a smallish character in the very first Mission Impossible movie. You've not seen him in anything since then. And they're talking about him everybody's going to know who this is. So you get a little flashback of that, which is okay, now I know who he was in that movie. I still don't remember, I have to watch that movie again. I don't know who that guy is. So, they do the clip thing and everything, and that's kind of a trope for a best of or a wrap up kind of thing. But I don't know. I don't buy it. As far as the movie goes, it's a 3-hour movie, right? And it feels like a 2.5 hour setup for a really great 30-minute stunt.
Yeah.
Or a series of stunts, because it's all about that last stunt. That last stunt is incredible. But the first 2/3 of the movie probably are just in service of that. There are a few other stunts, but they don't match up. They're not as impressive. And there's just a lot of exposition, a lot of dialogue, a lot of best of clips. Remember this, remember that. And
all to set up a spot.
All to set up a really, really cool last 30 minutes. So I'd say you don't really need a lot of that, So if you're going to go see Mission Impossible in the theaters, plan to be a little late, maybe, just run in and catch the last 45 minutes. I think you'll be fine. It's pretty good. So let's see what else we got coming up here. So we've missed some weeks. I've watched a few things. You've probably watched a few things. I did see a movie that I thought should probably be the comedy of the summer. Have you heard about a movie called Friendship?
I have heard of it, and I wanted to see it. It looks really good.
Yeah.
I love the A24 films.
Yeah.
So I'm eager to watch it.
Well, I did watch it. I went out and watched it with Christy, my wife, and I really like Tim Robinson. I think he cracks me up. He is funny in the way I want people, the funny people to be. And I like Paul Rudd. I got to tell you, I don't know. I'm not a 100% A24 person. I think that they lately have been just going a little too creature feature. I like it when there are more stories that a little more grounded. They can be weird, but something that tells you something or makes you think of something a little differently. Or Friendship for me works 100% like that. I mean, it is so relatable, especially as a guy who's tried to have guy friends and had a different sort of success and failure with that. It's very, very relatable, and it's very funny, darkly funny in a lot of places, of course, but it's almost it's hard to believe that anybody else but Tim Robinson could do that role. I gotta think they wrote it with him in mind, or that he had a part in writing it. I haven't researched it, but it's so perfect for him. And Paul Rudd too, perfect in it. And it's just a madcap comedy of error, comedy of failure, and just there but for the grace of go I, that kind of thing.
Right.
You just watch it. It's funny because you can imagine that happening to you, and you're kind of happy that it hasn't, or you're thinking, oh, it still could. It's funny in a way. It's funny to like kind of like bask in someone else's misfortune for a few hours,
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, what else? Final Destination Bloodlines. I watched that one with my sister again. Same day, I think we watched Lilo and Stitch.
I'm kind of excited for that just because I did get into the original ones a little bit.
Did you?
But that will be one that I watch when it starts streaming somewhere and the girlfriend's busy, or those are kind of my little guilty pleasures.
I gotta say, I've seen a couple of them. I've definitely seen the first one, but I don't know what the other one I've seen would have been. I know I haven't seen. I think this is a sixth one.
I think I've seen like the first three, and I really enjoyed them because it keeps you guessing because it's not always the one that you think it's going to be.
Right.
You're like, this is how they're going to get them, and then it's not. And I'm like, oh, I like that.
Well, yeah.
So
that's the fun. Is kind of following the path of the deadly breadcrumbs to see where it leads and everything, and the big payoff and stuff. Well, I think you'd like the new one then, because I like I said, I haven't seen all of them, so I'm not the one to say it's the best one. But for my money, it's the best one. It's better than the first one, and it's better than anyone I've seen since. And I don't know which ones those are, as I said. But I enjoyed this quite a bit. I thought it worked on a lot of levels. I liked that I didn't really recognize any of the cast, except for there's a recurring character, and he's been in a few other horror things, and so I recognized him. But the rest of it mostly cast unknowns. And like you said, it's fun to try to guess how they're going to die exactly, because they leave you all these clues, and then a lot of them are misdirection clues.
Right.
And so that's fun. And this one's interesting too, because it's sort of like Mission Impossible. It refers it sort of like back. I think.
Back to the past ones. Yeah,
I think so. Not in a very overt way. Like my sister actually told me thought of this when we were watching it. And she's like, "What if like all these people in this one are all the people that have." Because this one starts in the past, like way in the past, like with an incident that happens, and it's like in the 50s or something, and something happens, and a lot of people are supposed to die, and they don't because this woman has a premonition and gets everyone out, and so that's like, okay, all these people then went off and had families that weren't supposed to exist, and all this, there were a lot of people to get to them all, like really right away and stuff. So some of them went off and had, got married and had kids and grandkids and all this kind of thing. And then my sister's like, so what if like everyone that's ever died in a Final Destination movie from the first one to this one was because of that thing in the 60s So I'm like, that's actually a really interesting idea, and I don't think they really like explore it like overtly. I feel like they kind of nod at it or wink at it a little bit, but it's a pretty cool idea.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Like it's totally possible. I mean, some other event happened at the beginning of those movies. But it could like these people, it might not even have mattered. Like if they were descendants of the people that should have died in the 60s, then that means
they've been dodging death their whole lives.
And they might not even know it. Like they've been dodging death, or they weren't next in line. And like that's the one thing too that like bothered me about this. And I don't know if it's really been laid out like this in the other movies, but one of the sort of like logical things that bothered me is that death has to go in order. Do you remember that from the others? Like death has.
I did. That was. Oh boy, one of them when they figured that out. Yeah, because it was how it hit in the plane or something. Who was supposed to die?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that comes up in this one again, and it's like they have to think about who was born first and who should die first and all this stuff. And I thought that was a little weird, a little weak, because you would think death doesn't have to necessarily play by the rules. Right. He kind of makes his own rules. Like, to go in order is a little weird, I thought.
Right.
Yeah. But if that's a trope that's continued probably since the beginning, then I guess that makes sense.
It's been something that's been there, so I guess it's kind of lore now.
Yeah. I'm a little disappointed, Joey. I don't know about you, but I'm a little disappointed that they made a bad Karate Kid sequel. You know?
Yeah. I mean, the Karate Kid was, I mean, that's a classic. All 1, 2, and 3 classics.
Yeah.
The redo was okay too. I mean, I
which one? Are you talking about like when Hilary Swank was the Karate Kid? That was weird.
That one wasn't bad. I remember watching it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And then the Jaden Smith one. Okay, I get it. You're trying
Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith.
Right.
Yep.
You're trying to redo it, but I mean, so much of that franchise was Pat Morita, man.
Yeah.
You know, Mr. Miyagi was, without him, those first 3 movies wouldn't have been what they were.
Oh, you're right.
So,
Pat Morita is the heart and soul of those movies. You're absolutely right about that. I was so into the Karate Kid when I was a kid. It was like, yeah, I don't know. I watched it a lot, especially the first 2. I don't remember the third one as much, but I really love the first 2. The Karate Kids, why, like, as a kid, like, you wouldn't think a kid, like, what, how old was I? Probably wasn't I like 10 years old or something. I don't think a kid would be that into like Chicago or Peter Santana, right? But like,
right.
That Karate Kid soundtrack, man, that really cooked. It was really good.
It did. Yeah.
You know, that I Am a Man song from Karate Kid Part 2. Every time that comes on, I have to sing it at the top of my lungs. No, I think they should have made a season or 2 of Cobra Kai, because I like that idea of seeing it through the eyes of the other character. You know, I thought they did. It was really cool. And we watched probably the first 2 seasons, and then I think it started to get just sort of too hokey. Like they were just bringing back too many characters from the movies. And, you know, and the teenage drama was just getting like sillier and sillier, and I kind of like abandoned it after a couple, I think. But I think that as a limited series, I think they went too far with it. I think that they you know, they were trying to squeeze a little too much milk out of it or something. It went dry, I think. I think they should have done it as a mini series, a limited series, maybe 15 episodes or something like that would have been cool.
No, I've never seen it. I understand the premise.
Yeah.
But is it canon? Is it a different universe?
No, it's canon. It's canon.
It's canon. Okay.
Canon with original with 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Because it's Johnny Lawrence, you know, and it's just basically him, you know, present day. But like,
now, does that follow through with the new movies since it has Ralph Macchio in it?
It does, because, well, you know, it ties. I guess the new one's supposed to kind of tie everything together, because it's got Ralph Macchio like post. It seems like maybe post or in the midst of Cobra Kai. Maybe, I don't know if there was ever a time in Cobra Kai where they're like, "Oh, where'd Daniel go?" And he's gone for like 2 weeks or something, you know, to go do this other thing in New York. But it's supposed to, I mean, it's supposed to be like right in line with all that. Like, it seems like, you know, because you see his dojo in the movie, and I think it's the same thing that you saw in the series. And they, you know, then they bridge it because they bring in Jackie Chan's character from the remake.
Right.
So, you know, that's saying that, like, okay, because he was never Mr. Miyagi. He played a character called Mr. Han.
Right.
And so it was okay to do that. If they'd recast him as Mr. Miyagi, I think everybody would have probably had a big deal with that.
Yeah, you can't. That's a role that just, you know.
Right.
It was.
So there are lots of, you could tell lots of stories about Karate Kids and stuff. There are Karate Kids everywhere and stuff. And that's fine, you know, as long as you're not just you're not like we didn't want to see somebody else be Mr. Miyagi. We didn't want to see another actor be Daniel LaRusso. We didn't want to see that.
Right.
So it was fine to do it the way they did. I'm cool with that. But apparently this new one kind of stinks. I'm looking at Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 58. I had a bit of an issue. We've talked before. I don't mind like fan service. I don't mind things to be a little hokey and even break the fourth wall or something. But it's a little weird when you say the title of the movie in the movie. And
yeah.
And there was a trailer for this where Ralph Macchio says to Mr. Han, Jackie Chan, he says, "Let's go make a Karate Kid." And I was like, oh, that just takes me out of it.
Right.
It's a little like the Solo line too from the Solo movie. He's like, Han, his name's Han, but like, oh, you're riding alone. He's like, so you're solo? Han Solo? Oh God. Yeah. Okay, so I don't know. We haven't seen it, but it seems like they kind of missed the mark with this Karate Kid movie, this sequel. I'll probably watch it when it comes out on streaming anyway.
Yeah, same here. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
Gotta see what happens.
So next, I watched just last weekend, actually, for Father's Day weekend, I watched the movie called The Life of Chuck. What do you know about that one, Joey?
I don't know very much about this movie.
Yeah. It is.
I've seen the trailer and it looks good. It looks like something I want to see, but other than that, that's all I know.
Yeah, yeah. So I saw the trailer and it's Tom Hiddleston, Loki from the Marvel Universe, and it's got Mark Hamill in it, and Karen Gillan, lots of people we recognize. The trailer, a little bright, dancing and different things going on in that trailer, but it obviously didn't seem like your typical Stephen King movie, right? So Stephen King doesn't just make horror movies. He's made a number of movies that you could argue are not in the horror genre, right? Shawshank Redemption is a drama. It's not really a horror movie.
Right.
So this looked like it was more in that vein, right? I didn't read this particular short story by Stephen King, which surprises me because I've read a lot of Stephen King. I haven't read all the short story anthologies, unfortunately. So this fell into one of those. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done. It was a good movie to see, I think, on Father's Day weekend for us, my wife and kids, and we all enjoyed it quite a bit. It's definitely got some like sort of supernatural spookiness to it. It's told in sort of 3 chapters. I don't want to spoil anything for anyone because it's a movie best discovered and interpreted on your own. But it's told in 3 pieces, and the first piece certainly felt Stephen King-ish. Like it's got that spooky, supernatural, like, oh, what's going to happen, and just on the edge of your seat kind of tension. And then the second one was kind of like almost a musical, like bright, just like a walk home from work for a man, and he ends up dancing on the street with someone he's just met, a young musician that's busking on the sidewalk with a set of drums, and it was bright and and fun, and didn't feel a Stephen King like. And then for the third one, you got sort of like a typical, or not typical, very original coming of age story, maybe a little more like something you would have seen in a Stand By Me or something like that. Kids sort of getting into things and learning things about their elders and that kind of thing. And then it that piece ties the other 2 together and really makes you think, I think, a little differently through the movie. I think you have different ideas about what it means, certainly at each stage. And then at the end, you're sort of left leaving the theater thinking and talking about it. And I like movies that do that. So I was really into it.
That definitely sounds like it's going to be a watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we had another live action remake of an animated movie. How to Train Your Dragon is out now. And I think that looks pretty good too. I was into How to Train Your Dragon. How about the movies, the animated movies were really good. I didn't really watch the series. I know they had a series,
they were,
but
yeah,
animated movies were really good. And this was one I think it's very rare, but like I watched the movie and then my kids were young and we got the book from the library after we watched the movie, and the books are bad. The movies are so much better than the books, and they're so different in the weirdest ways too, because the books are read like a how-to book. It's like a kid wrote a how-to book for training dragons, and it's very different. And the dragon in the books is toothless. The dragon in the book, at least in the beginning, in the first book or maybe first couple, he's a pocket-sized dragon. He fit in Hiccup's pocket. And I'm like, that's the weirdest thing, And so they're not even, I wouldn't even say, I mean, they're adaptations in a sense of the books, but they're so different from the books. But I really like the animated ones. I think they took a lot of risks. I think they told a lot of some sort of like more mature stories. I think there were surprises. Spoiler alert, when Hiccup, falls from the back of the dragon after the big epic battle and as the first movie, right? And he falls and you are sort of concerned for his health and he's not going to die or whatever. And it's an animated movie. It's not Disney. It's DreamWorks. It's sort of the same thing. Yeah, so he's not going to die. But then the reveal that he's actually lost a limb, that he's has to now have a prosthetic leg in a sense, and just the connection, like him, toothless as dragon with the mechanical tail fin, and then him with the sort of mechanical or at least mechanized leg. Just that parallel was so touching to me. That they, that these two, they were bonded, that they now shared this between them, I thought that this is, can't call it like a disability turned to an ability, like turned on its head. And I thought that was really sweet.
Yeah, it was an awesome story arc, and to have that in there. And I as well love those original movies. I'm super excited for this new one to be able to introduce like younger people to those stories,
Yeah.
And then of course, it's going to bring all the old movies back and stuff too.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how close they stick to that story. Do they mess with it at all?
Yeah. I certainly hope that they don't try to do too much in terms of changing beats or doing any kind of rewrites on the original, because it's so like the story is, to me, is untouchable. I think it's a perfect story. The way it's told is perfect. And like I said, don't even try to stack it up against the books. It's so out of their league. I think it's written extremely well. And so I don't think you can really mess with the story. I think it's interesting though. Like I want to see Gerard Butler in that role, like seeing Nick Frost and as this Viking of Burke and everything, so, and like I was talking to my kids, and my son Brandon was like, they messed it up with the trailer. They just showed too much in the trailers, because obviously like the big draw for this is like, I want to go and see if that dragon from the animated movie looks that way, how it looks in real life, or like in this like realistic, vantage point, like this CGI, but it's like meant to like it looks realistic, looks like it could really be. So I want to see how that's interpreted from the drawing to the actual dragon. And he's like, they showed too many of the dragons in the trailer. He's like that. He's like, I wanted to go see it, but they showed it to me already, I thought that was interesting.
You could have given the tease and even given a little bit of it if it was the eyes or, even just the mouth.
Right.
Something to give a little bit of it away, but keep something there.
I mean, even if you got to like show Toothless, so people like aren't like, oh, is it like Ugly Sonic or is it actually like well done? Like you can show Toothless, but there are all those other dragons. Like my son was right, they're dragons that have like for the kids that watch those movies over and over and over again, they know those dragons,
Right.
and so they want to go see what they look like in real life. And I think that's a legitimate gripe. Like that would have drawn more people probably. They hadn't gone too far with the trailer. Yeah. I didn't think of that before, but I think it looks good. I would definitely want to check it out. I just haven't had a chance.
Same here.
Yeah.
It's on the list.
This weekend,
another one that I'm super excited to check out is the 28 Years Later.
Yeah, that's this
just
weekend.
because at first when it came out, I'm like, is it really 28 years later? I had to look at when the first one came out.
Yeah.
Because
if they made a movie 28 years. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
But I've really loved them. And the more I keep seeing about how this was shot on iPhones, and I'm really interested to check it out and see more of the story and check out all the buzz is about it. So
yeah, I think so too, man. I think that they shouldn't have done the thing they did with Cillian Murphy, though.
Right.
I don't think they should have done that. To tell people Cillian Murphy's in the movie, like he has a role in the movie, and then show in the trailer that shot of the dead Cillian Murphy, of the decrepit zombie Cillian Murphy.
Right.
I thought that was too far. I thought they should.
Yeah.
I thought they shouldn't have done that. The trailer, otherwise, is extremely creepy. It's the lady's voice over the crackle of the radio, like saying all these numbers and this kind of like cryptid sort of nursery rhyme or whatever, and it's very creepy. I'm not really into horror that much. I like to watch horror that like people are talking about and stuff, and like I watched plenty of The Walking Dead. I didn't finish it or watch all of it. I know there's like 4 spinoffs or something now, but I wouldn't say I watch a lot of horror. Like if horror movie gets thrust into like the high subconscious or whatever, like everyone's talking about it, then I probably have to check it out.
Right.
I did like 28. I thought 28 Days Later was a great movie. I have to admit, I think I saw 28 Weeks Later, but I don't remember it that well. So I probably only watched it once, and doesn't seem memorable to me. But I think that's a great way. I think they would have been dumb not to make a 28 Years Later. To have a 28 days and a 28 weeks. I think they probably should have done 28 months.
Months, yeah.
What are you going to do after years? 28 decades, 28 centuries, 28 millennia. You're kind of, it might be the end of that series. So if you wanted another one, you could have snuck 28 months later in, and they could still go back and do one in between weeks and years, couldn't they? But I don't know. It doesn't have the same punch. If you were to do 28 years later and then go back to 28 months, you're like, well, I know what this situation is in, the 28 years later. So I can kind of like guess what happened 28 months later.
Right.
Not a lot of suspense there. So that looks good. Let's see what else is coming up here, Joey. F1, the movie. How do you feel about that?
Brad Pitt looks phenomenal in it. I don't know how he's doing that at his age.
He looks better than Tom Cruise does and Mission Impossible. Tom Cruise was the one who could never age, right? And I think he actually looks like he's older in that movie. I think he does. I think he is starting to show his age.
Starting to catch up with him, yeah.
I think so, unfortunately. But Brad Pitt, you're right. Like, I mean, dude, he's doing well.
This one takes me back to my dad and going to see like Days of Thunder. The racing.
Same. Days of Thunder was great. I remember that as a kid too. Did you watch Gran Turismo?
I did not. That's the one that's based off the true story, right?
Yeah.
I have not seen that one.
It's obviously a dramatization of something that really happened, but also almost it's in some sense it's almost a retelling of what happens in The Last Starfighter.
Okay, yeah.
Remember The Last Starfighter?
I do. I love that
I
movie.
loved that movie as a kid too. Like I watched that one a lot too. But like,
Who didn't want to get picked up because you were really good at the game
get
and
picked up,
get your own spaceship?
pick
Yeah,
up to go on some like mission to like do, to save the world or or to
right.
start a
Giant metallic clamshell, you know?
be picked up out of sort of an ordinary life and thrust into some action like that. It's like that. The guy wins the video game. That's what happens in uh in the Last Starfighter, and it's echoed, I think, in Gran Turismo, and I really like Gran Turismo. I thought it was really well done.
That's cool. I love, you gotta love fast cars, and
Yeah,
these big summer blockbusters, they give you those moments of setting up those big stunts,
yeah,
the big race scenes, the all immersive sounds to where
yeah,
you're rattling when they start the engines.
yeah,
Those are the type of things that I hope they get in this.
yeah,
Because other than that, I'm not really sure what the story is going to be about. But
yeah.
give me a good racing movie. You don't need much else.
All right. Guy
So
comes out of retirement to mentor a new promising rookie. They start a racing team, an F1 racing team. Neither one of these guys has any experience with the F1 cars. That's what I'm getting from the trailers. But
right,
it looks good to me. I think it screams summer movie to me. I want to
it
see it.
does.
I do want to see it. I think you should watch Gran Turismo before you go see it, but I will see this one. I think it looks very good. F1's had a bit of a moment in past years here in the U.S. I mean, it's an international sport for the most part. It hasn't really had a huge U.S. following, and so they started to do these F1 Grand Prix like around cities where they're doing it out in the street. So they did Vegas, which I think was a bit of a mess, and
Right.
but so they're trying to get it more into the sort of American realm of pop culture over here, get people familiar with it. So I think it's a good, I think it's a good way to do that. There's Brad Pitt in the movie about it, and and I think
I know for like my kids, they followed it because of video games.
yeah,
A lot of the video games had where you could race full F1 seasons, and they knew some of the racers and stuff. And I'm like, well, that's kind of interesting because I think that will kind of bring in a little more older crowd now, because the younger crowd, a lot of them have from even like the Gran Turismo tie-in. In Gran Turismo, you get to play through leagues and seasons and stuff.
yeah,
So it really is opening that whole sport up to new fans and even some old ones.
yeah.
So I'm excited for that, and it's got all the makings of that blockbuster. So
Joey, let's play a game of listing some of our favorite racing movies of all time. You think about some racing. I've seen a lot of racing movies. I called this up just to refresh my memory, and I think I've seen a lot, and I could have some opinions about this. Do you think you could list some of your five, or five are the most memorable or your favorite racing movies, or movies that were themed around a race?
I believe so. First and foremost, I gotta put Cannonball Run on there.
Yeah.
Cannonball Run's got to be on there.
Yeah.
You've got to have Days of Thunder.
Days of Thunder. Yep, for sure. I agree so far.
Ricky Bobby, Talladega Nights.
Talladega Nights. Yes, for sure. That's three. What else is going to make the list? We got to pick two more out of like all the other racing movies that have been made. Is this going to be tough or what?
Let's see. It's got to center around Cars.
Yeah, Cars. Cars are important. Like it couldn't be like a bike race.
Well, no, the movie Cars.
Oh, no.
Pixar's Cars.
No, I thought you were Cars. The movie about racing cars. But yes, the movie Cars. Our movie Cars. Yeah, okay. I think it makes the list too. Lightning McQueen, the original one has
Oh yeah.
Paul Newman in it. Yeah. And that was pretty perfect. Paul Newman and sort of mentoring this Owen Wilson, Lightning McQueen's character and stuff. So I agree. I think Cars makes the list. All right, what else? We have one slot left if we're picking our top 5. Oh man, one slot left. You pick one and then I'll pick one. I'll let you know. Cause so far I think we're pretty simpatico on these, but I think it's going to be hard this last one.
I would probably go the first Fast and Furious.
Yeah. I don't know. I might have to disagree with you on that one. I don't necessarily see that as a racing movie, because isn't it like it starts with a race or something, like road races and stuff like that, but
it's not themed around a particular race.
Yeah, so I think it's because it's drag racing, and then it turns into a whole thing with basically like spies and or stuff, or like people that getting into all the crazy action and stuff, like guns coming into the equation. I don't know. I think that disqualifies it for me, because we were talking about like racing cars, like the race has to be central, and I don't think it is in those movies. They're fast cars, but they're not racing cars. So I'm going to disqualify that one.
Okay.
You need a list. You want me to go through some that I think would be candidates?
Yeah, let's hear what you got.
Okay, so Ford v Ferrari.
Okay.
That had Matt Damon and Christian Bale in it. Pretty good movie, pretty top-notch movie. I don't know if it makes the list of the top 5. Rush, which I got to admit, I didn't see that one, but it's directed by Ron Howard and has Chris Hemsworth in it. So it should be probably considered. If you've seen it, I haven't seen it. So
I've seen half of it, and I really liked it.
Yeah. Well, not enough to watch the other half, but.
Right.
All right, let's see what else. The Love Bug, Herbie.
Oh, those are my favorite. I guess that has to go up there.
That has to be in the top 5.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Yeah. I'll remind you of a few others, and you see if that's still the one. I agree. I think Herbie's kind of the original race car movie. I think it's definitely in consideration for that top 5. Let's see what else we got here. I don't think we talked about Cars 2 or Cars 3. I don't even know. Did they make more than 3? They made 3 at least, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it went to planes after that.
Yeah. And then the aforementioned Gran Turismo came out in 2023, which is a good movie. I don't know if it's top 5. Let's see. Speed Racer, Joey Wachowski's.
No. No. I enjoyed it, but I can't put it top 5.
No, I don't. I think you're right. I don't think it goes top 5. Not the Herbie remake either with Lindsay Lohan.
No.
We got Days of Thunder in there. You know what? We might have the top 5 with that. I think the Love Bug rounded it out. I think it's really hard though to exclude some of these more modern movies that I think are very well made, and I think that they are doing some great things with the camera work and the practical effects and everything. And I think they're looking really
absolutely
good. Ford v Ferrari is a very fun movie. Like I said, Gran Turismo is very good. Oh no, they're not. Maybe they're just not old enough to be classic yet. Maybe when they're classic, then it'll bump out some of the older classics.
Right.
But I think right now the list that we have is the right list. Want to recap it for us, Joey?
Let's see here. I know Cars was on there.
Yeah, no particular order here, though. We're not numbering them 1 to 5 because we just picked our top 5. I think it'd be harder to try to rank them 1 to 5. Right. But all right, so we said Cars. What else?
Cars, Days of Thunder. Talladega Nights.
Yep. The Ballad of Rocky Baby. Okay. All right. We got Talladega Nights. That's 3.
And Herbie the Love Bug.
Herbie the Love Bug is in there. What one did we miss? Did we just say 5? We missed 1?
We're missing 1.
Yeah, we're missing 1. Oh, Cannonball Run.
Cannonball Run.
Which has to be there. Absolutely has to be there. So, yeah, I think that's got to be the top 5 racing movies. Yeah, maybe we should rewatch some of these racing movies. I like racing movies. You know what? I like movies I like sports movies. You know, I don't really actually watch a lot of sports. You know, like
yeah, I definitely watch
but
more sports
I like
movies than sports.
I really like I like the Rocky movies a lot. You know,
Yeah,
I like a lot of that stuff. We could talk about the best boxing movies or the best fighting movies another time.
yeah, that would be a whole other episode, I believe,
Yeah.
because there's a lot, and especially heavy through the '80s with Von Damme and all of those guys, Seagal, and
Yeah, yeah. All
some
that stuff.
real
I
good
was
stuff
into
back then.
all of that stuff.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Oh, how many times I watched Bloodsport, man. Oh, yeah. Good stuff. I went on a real JCVD kick for a while as a kid. I legitimately was like into like Jean-Claude Van Damme, like kicking people in the face. I was really
right.
into that for a while. So we started this talking about summer movies, and we caught up to this weekend or even the following weekend because we're talking about this on the 18th, and we talked about F1, which is coming out on June 27th. So we got to do another one of these next week, Joey, so we can stay on top of it. And we'll talk about July movies and maybe August movies, and then we'll talk about whether September or early September even fits into summer movie category. We discussed that we don't think May 1st does. Third or fourth week of May, yeah, that's legitimately summer movie season. But as I said in the beginning, I think it starts with the movie. The movie that kicked off this summer that we first talked about was Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. It's the movies of the summer that we're most interested in. Let's just say that.
Summer blockbuster list. Yes.
Yeah, it's our summer blockbuster list. What makes the list? What's in the good category? What's in the bad? We're really getting close to Superman. We're going to have to talk about Superman, of course. Probably the most anticipated movie for me of the summer.
Absolutely.
Spoiler. I think that's the one I'm looking forward to the most. So we'll talk about that.
You can't sleep on Jurassic Park either. So
I don't know. I've been hurt by Jurassic Park. Yeah, I don't know. I think that was another one where it was really cool. The first reboot,
right.
I thought they did a really good job with it. And then I think the other ones maybe not so good. But that's like the original Jurassic Park too. Like they got kind of stupider.
Right.
I guess that's just the pattern that they take. But yeah, I don't know. This one might be good. It's another reboot. It's got Scarlett Johansson in it, and Mahershala Ali, so it's cast well.
Right.
I don't know if it's one of my anticipated movies though. I might see it at drive-in or something. I think.
Yeah. No, it's a perfect drive-in movie.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the other ones that we're looking forward to in our next episode. So you guys can check us out on Knee Jerks, talking about movies and TV. We're going to release those episodes every Friday. We're going to try to get them out, midday. They may push a little later sometimes because we got other stuff going on. But, check us out. We talk about that stuff here, and then we have another show over on ETA Podcast Network where we talk to musicians and artists, creative people about what keeps them going, what sort of keeps their engine running. We just call that Everything After. So check us out on those shows on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. And, if you want to join our community, take a look at Everything After photo on Instagram. There you can send us a message and let us know what your Everything After is, what your ETA is, or what you just want to talk about. All right, Joe?
Sounds like a deal. Sounds perfect, man.
All right, man. Well, it's cool talking movies with you. We'll do it again next week. Until the next thing.
I still love with a vengeance the idea that I could be the one to change. And every spell I said to reanimate the dead could somehow all now be neatly tucked away.
Sarah Sgt. Pepper from the Cleellum, and my ETA is I'm a professional drummer.
It happened. It got manifested. Yeah. Hey, I'm Ian Lee from the Cleellum. My ETA is I write songs, and I write them for you, the people. All we got is each other. Dig our songs, because they're for you. They're not for me. They're for you.